What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And it finished England 1, Croatia 0 in the Wembley sunshine. But before we get into our post-match analysis, I'm sure I speak on behalf of myself, George, and the channel and the rest of the footballing community. We are delighted to see that Christian Eriksen seems to have pulled through and is okay after quite distressing scenes in the Denmark-Finland game in Copenhagen yesterday. A credit to the medical staff and all the first responders that got there and potentially saved his life. So that's a great thing to see. But George, getting back to England and footballing matters, the lineup was a little bit odd to say. Well, I don't know if odd's the right word, but a couple of surprises in there. I think Kieran Trippier at left back, I don't think anyone would have predicted seeing that. And a lot of people wanting Jack Grealish included, but obviously Raheem Sterling included from the start. I myself, one of those critics that thought Sterling shouldn't be in the lineup. I just think Jack Grealish, for me, is better and offers more. But in an England shirt, Sterling seems to have delivered. And today, he was proven right with his inclusion. Just before you get your thoughts, mate, what were your initial thoughts when you saw Trippier starting at left back?
Yeah, that was the surprising one. I think Grealish and Sterling is just a matter of opinion. You know, obviously Grealish is more in form, but you know, on my personal viewpoint, I prefer Raheem Sterling. I think he creates more chances, a bit more experience when it comes to England form. But Trippier was the one, wasn't it? I mean, you've got two world-class left backs in Luke Shaw and Ben Chilwell, and he's decided to go for probably again. Maybe it's a bit of favouritism from Southgate. Knows what he's about from the previous tournament in the World Cup. I think he probably selected Trippier in isolation for that game in particular, probably because he's more defensively minded than the other two. I don't know if everyone will be the same opinion as me on that, but I think Chilwell, he has his moments where he's maybe not switched on. Shaw is very, very good going forwards, but perhaps again, I think, and the other probably reason that he was on there was probably for his delivery. I mean, granted, we didn't have many chances today from corners or set plays, but I think he had one free kick which went straight into the wall. But yeah, that was the surprising one. I mean, another one was Phillips in the middle of the park, but he had an outstanding game. So that was the main surprise to me. But actually, you know, it worked in our favour.
Yeah, I think to be honest, like going into the first game of the tournament, England's record in opening games in European Championships was we'd never won our opening game of a tournament before. And so to get that kind of monkey off the back, I suppose maybe a small piece of revenge for losing the World Cup semi-final against Croatia to get one back over them again. The performance was solid. I didn't think it was spectacular. We started brightly, Foden hitting the woodwork early on. I think we hit the crossbar twice in the first sort of opening quarter of the game. And then from there, it kind of just settled into a pattern where it was a little bit like a chess match, not a lot happening. Obviously, we get the goal through Raheem Sterling, who was obviously awarded the UEFA Star of the Match, they call it now. I'm not really sure why they call it that. But yeah, Harry Kane, not one of his better afternoons, George. Missed a couple of gilt edge opportunities. You just think that's a one-off for him?
Yeah, but it is a worry because listening to Alan Shearer before the game, I think it's so important in tournament football for number nines to start on a positive note. You know, try and get off the mark as soon as possible. And missing that sitter, it was almost a rewind of the Croatia match in the World Cup where we went 1-0 up and he missed that sitter that hit the post. I mean, not the best performance from Harry Kane. I think we struggled to get the ball into him. There was a lot of like long ball play from England today, and I don't think that the heat helped particularly much with the pace of the game. But listen, we've got to have faith in Harry Kane for what he's done for both club and country. He knows where the net is, and he's the captain as well. So even if he's not putting it in the net, he's still a huge influence on the rest of the team. But yeah, mate, I was impressed. You know, I think the first couple of minutes, certainly the first 10 minutes, we were electric. To be fair, we came out of the blocks very early and. You know, looking back at the game, that's our most difficult game theoretically in the group. And Croatia offered nothing. You know, I can't remember Pickford having to make a save. The biggest concern is like we said, those lapses in concentration from an England point of view. You know, not dominating when we are a goal up and killing the game off. And also, you know, having all the ball, but then, Trippier nearly put us in trouble with that header back. A couple of moments the goalkeeper slipped and mistimed his kicks out. So Those are the biggest concerns for me. But I think what did show today is, even though some of the lineups might have been questionable and some of the selections, it shows that we've actually got a much more capable squad this time around. Players that I didn't expect would take the game by the scruff of the neck actually really performed. So that was positive for me.
Yeah, and just on those positives, George, just wanted to get a word on a few performances from players that obviously playing kind of their first tournament game for England. Just a word on Tyrone Mings. I thought he was pretty good at the back today. He's faced a bit of criticism recently in terms of his performances for England and perhaps not finishing the season as strongly for Aston Villa. I mean, he was pretty solid today, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, considering he's not first choice, and he had to, fill some pretty hefty boots in Maguire, I think he did very, very well. I mean, okay, he wasn't particularly tested today. Let's be honest. I mean, if we were playing a France or a Portugal against Ronaldo, then we're looking elsewhere. But I think, you can only take the game as face value when actually still had a job to do. And I thought as a partnership, and I thought, the entire back, if you want to call it a back five with Pickford, I think they did really, really well to keep a team as good as Croatia quiet. And again, the two holding players, fantastic job in the midfield today, considering the heat as well. I think, people may overlook that, but it does affect the game, the pace of the game. The pitch is very dry and running around, chasing the ball. So I think making sure that we were on top in that game and not chasing shadows was really important.
And just a quick word on Calvin Phillips, obviously his sort of tournament debut for England. Do you think with that performance, obviously outstanding today, his passing, just all aspects of his game were spot on. Do you think he's kind of cemented himself possibly in that two-man midfield alongside Declan Rice? Because Southgate today employed what looked like it's a 4-2-3-1 formation. So do you think Phillips has perhaps possibly cemented one of those positions going forward in the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I like the formation. That's my favourite formation to play. The opposing argument that you alluded to is that maybe it's too cautious and defensive with all the attacking flair that we have as an England side. But he showed no fear today, did he? For a player that playing his first real big game to make an impact, and he knows full well, if he cocks that up and makes a mess of it first game, he's probably not going to get another appearance this tournament and for a long time for England. I mean, that's how close the margins are at the very highest level. But he pulled his socks up, and he had, if it wasn't for Sterling's goal, he's probably right up there for man of the match also. So I think he is a shoo-in. So I wouldn't change him for the next game. But what I think Southgate will do is he will definitely, what he mentioned in a podcast actually that I listened to, is that he's going to make use of his squad this time round, and he's not afraid to make a lot of changes and see everyone. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see 5, 6, 7 changes, even if it's just on the bench, to see players different. I expect Grealish to be given a go, and of the like. So, yeah, Calvin Phillips is definitely one.
100%. I mean, yeah, a great start to the tournament for England. It's always important. The performances aren't so crucial in these opening games, just about finding a rhythm and getting the points on the board, which we have done so. And England will roll on to Friday night, 8 p.m. kickoff in the Battle of Britain against Scotland, which should be a tasty affair. But as always, guys, make sure you smash a like on the video. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And let's keep that momentum going. Come on, England.